Hello. No sound yet. Sorry, it took me a sec. I touched the mute button on the microphone itself. I was just talking about the sound being louder this time around, and then I was like, wait, there's actually no sound whatsoever. Took me a second. But yeah, let me know if it's any better now. For me, like when I watch the YouTube videos or whatever, it's way too loud. I have to make it like put it to 2 or 3%. I don't know why people have issues, but it should be louder. Is it Fexifex says new mic? No, I just made it louder. Same mic. Yeah. Oh, that's going to be annoying. A bunch of people on YouTube will think that it's an odd video, but is what it is. Cool. A bunch of people commenting no sound, but I think they're just a little bit late. Everyone else is commenting, that's fine. So anyway, yeah, as you can see from the title, the market has been shit and continues to be shit, and there's nothing really interesting going on, but we'll talk about it anyway. I'm good at hyping myself up. Gonna make the viewership, like people tune in and like, it's still shit. Okay, cool. I'm gonna come back next week, and I think that's actually legit. So, Don, how did you chart Bitcoin against the S&P like the tweet? Okay, so you just do Bitcoin USD, then you go down to whatever exchange you want to have it, right? So with the down arrows on your keyboard, and then you do divided by, and then you just do S&P. You choose whichever you want. If you want to have like the whatever, we can take this one, and then you have the chart that I did. You can do this with anything. This is how you can inverse the Bitcoin chart as well, if you just do this. So now it's inverse, brah. That looks pretty good. Wow. Good looking chart right there. Anyway, yeah, we'll talk about the markets. But yeah. Anything else that I missed in a sea of people commenting that the mic isn't working? Hello. Good evening. Hope everything's good with the young family. Yes, I'm doing well. The missus is getting less sleep than me because she does have to get up from time to time to feed the baby in the morning and in the night. Like not night, but like you get what I'm saying. But I'm doing well. Cannot do anything. As usual, the man being useless. But yeah. So let's get this thing rolling. Big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. As usual, they've been amazing to work with. Super transparent. And it's been a pleasure. So go check out the links in the description if you want to check them out. Or if you want to read about them. But a lot of the stuff in the description is going to change. They're becoming more and more. They're working on a lot of things, and we've been having some influence, which is quite nice. So yeah, that's that. And then what do we talk about? Do we just talk about? I mean, can just talk about anything other than the market because the market is just so boring. But we'll try the market for a little bit, and then we'll see what's going on elsewhere. So high time frame Bitcoin, still nothing there really. No immediate kind of actionable signal or whatever. No people trapped. No, like nothing really going on here. And the weekly time frame, we're in the situation where you've had a bunch of basically breakout traders getting into getting into the ETF trade, and so far that's not really been doing anything. But it's not been punishing either. It's just the ETF candle, like the ETF announcement candle, whatever. It's not really announced because it's not 100% sure that it's going to go through. But anyway, we got this candle, and now we had a bunch of sideways. And if this breaks down from the sideways, I think it's going to be quite a significant move, because obviously a bunch of people are on the wrong side of this, given we had infinite good news during this candle and during the last 3 weeks. And we had the S&P go up, we had the dollar index go down, all kind of things that should have given this a lift and haven't, right? So if this goes down, I think that's going to be a significant move. A bunch of people are paying funding to be in longs, and that's obviously not the best in the world. A little bit of a similar thing is going on, obviously, to the upside, right? So if this starts grinding up, you have a bunch of people just not in position, including me, because I'm not in position and I'm not holding anything. I think this is kind of a shitty spot, given we are right below the old all-time high range, and that's the most obvious resistance on the chart, right? Like if you asked me down here, where's the most obvious resistance on the chart, I would have said 30K. If you asked me here, I did say 30K and sold, and now I sold again because it's the most obvious resistance, right? And the reason for that is quite simple. We had a nice distributive range, and this is exactly the level where people were first willing to step in and then got completely ran over. So anyone that bought this spot will think twice about whether they actually want to be in this or not once they're back to break even or close to. And I think that's like one reason why we're struggling here. So, but yeah, it's kind of a stupid spot because we are at support. There's weekly support down here, but also we should have gone up. We didn't go up, and whenever that's the case, I'm usually just hands off. Is there a reason you deleted the box from 24 to around 21K-ish? Yeah, because I think if we go down, that's not going to do too much. So it just made it a little bit clearer. I think this area that we're trading in is key. And if that goes, I'm willing to pick the pieces up at 20K-ish rather than at 24. Don't want to get distracted by something that I don't actually want to do any business with. So in general, like you see a bunch of lines here. A bunch, 4, right? Those are the areas, the only areas that I would be willing to do business at, right? Or in general that influence my thinking. If we go down here, I will most definitely want to be buying. If we do this, right? And this could possible, like this is possible, and then bounce back up, I would want to be buying the reclaim. I don't want to be buying here. This could bounce anywhere, really, right? Like it's not like price cannot go up or down at random levels. It's just if it doesn't go to the pain points, I'm not willing to bet on it right now anyway, and that could change. But so if we go down here, I would be willing to buy that. And I have this box on the chart because if we lose that, I'm just going to be full-blown bearish for a while. As in basically until we hit this or until we reclaim it. And I have this line on the chart because that's where you want to be going bullish. And I have this line on the chart because that's where you actually want to be risking off. Those are the 4 high time frame lines that I have on the chart. And that's basically all there is to it, right? Like I think if we go back to 60K, funnily enough, that will be resistance again. If like it might just like if we down the line trading at 60K, I go up. I could see it kind of fizzle out towards like higher 40Ks and then maybe go back up to break the highs and really go. We've seen that in other markets before. Gold likes to do this kind of thing where it teases a breakout over and over and over again and doesn't go, and then at some point it goes. Don, why do you not trade stocks? No hate, just curious because they have been very strong. I don't have that much edge there. Not really too interested. like I made the, like I just used basically used this move to make plenty of gains rather than going into the market that I don't fully understand. But I mean, I think stocks have been better. The returns have been better. The risk has been less. Stocks have been better. It's just I'm not better at trading stocks than I'm trading crypto. So I trade crypto. What's wrong with the sound? Fading, or is it just me? Shouldn't. Dude, I hate this sound thing. Like everyone's complaining. And every time I listen back, everything's completely fine. I don't understand how that works. But it is what it is. Thoughts on S&P? Keep on chatting. Yeah, it's impressive. It's even more impressive that Bitcoin isn't going with it. Don, you must have edge, right? Trading stocks. You trade structures and can operate off candle closes. Yeah, but I mean, the reason why TA works so well in crypto, right? Or like what works at all is basically because there's nothing else that you can trade this thing off of. Like TA only works, in my opinion anyway, if there's really not that much else that you can use. And in crypto, this is all made up money, right? Like this is all made up play money basically. So no one has any kind of real ways to value this thing, and to kind of gauge whether it should be going up or down. So we use TA, right? That's basically it. Especially on the low time frames, right? Then on the high time frames, you get, like, I think in general, like when you trade the monthly or whatever, TA can work quite well on every market, just based on the fact that you have a bunch of people trading your way. But like the low time frames, I don't think there's much, like if you're trading the stocks, and like I said, I'm not an expert, but if you're trading the stocks and you're drawing lines and you're just trading based off of them, I could see that just completely go wrong, based on the fact that there's other factors that influence price rather than, like in crypto you only have TA really, and that's it. Like it's all about momentum, which is very nice. Like if you use TA, you can gauge the momentum, you can gauge the trend. Like that's all crypto is about, and the stock market, not necessarily all of it. Now I will say that TA has been quite nice on like the higher time frames, and for example the S&P, but I think that's because everything was out of whack in the last few months. Like the entire world was basically like trying to regain its footing after COVID, but that's not the case anymore, right? Like it's still whack, but it's less so. So I mean, I think you're gonna, over time, over the next year or two, you're gonna see TA get less and less important on stocks. But yeah. So, I mean, I would have to read into stocks and find reasons why they should be going up or down. And that just seems like a hassle if I can just trade crypto. Do you use the log chart all the time on all coins? And if yes, is there specific reasons for that? For me, it doesn't make a difference. The log chart, like if you look at the S&P, right? Like if you use the log chart, like this is a chart that makes sense, where you can actually see what's going on. If you, how was it again? Yeah, here. If you use the normal chart, I mean, this is one where it's actually okay. But if you use the normal chart for Bitcoin, for example, like this is entirely useless. Like, what are you gonna do with this? Like any price action beyond just the last few weeks is completely useless. Just seems shitty. And then on log it makes more sense. And then you go on any shitcoin, Solana for example, like what the fuck are you gonna do with this? This is a chart that's completely useless because these price movements are too big and too rapid. And then if you use log chart, it just makes it so you can actually see properly. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference. But here, for example, you can see like that's the support resistance level right there. If you go on non-log chart, like, yeah, you could draw the same line because it's the same. Like the horizontals don't change, but it's also tiny down here that you have to like zoom in like a shitload. So It's the only reason. Especially in quick market, like in quick moving markets, it's more comfortable. But there's no real, like, oh, you should be using log, or oh, you should be using logarithmic. No big difference. I don't see why people are so hell bent on using one or the other. Like if I was lazy, I'd just keep it in one, and I am lazy usually, so. So. If the S&P flips the red box into support, is that giga bullish? That'd be quite nice, yeah. So if we do this, that'd be a quite nice look. I would not necessarily like think that we were going to super all-time highs, but that would lead to quite a nice move. Maybe we get another, like basically another repeat of what we had here, which is basically like a 17% move. You get the same thing here, like 14-15%. That would be quite cool. But first we need to get through this. So 12 more days for the monthly close on the S&P. And then if it's quite a bit above that resistance, it looks better. But like I said, take that with a grain of salt. TA on the S&P is not necessarily the best. High time frames still work, right? Like that's why I'm not hating. Like this kind of stuff is quite nice. Like horizontals have been working quite well. Ranges have been working quite well as long as you zoom out very, very far. But everything is trading completely crazy right now. The only thing that's not been trading crazy is crypto, which is quite funny because that's what we're known for. Then, Don, if you have $20,000 and wanted to grow your account, what would you trade? Stocks, Bitcoin, ETH, or altcoins? I mean, I would trade Bitcoin because that's what I'm good at. I mean, but I don't know if you're good at trading Bitcoin, or if you're good at trading stocks, or if you're good at trading ETH, or if you're good at trading altcoins. I mean, you just got to figure out like what you're actually good at. It's not about like, oh, this altcoin can go up 10x. That's why I'm going to buy it. And then it goes down 90% and all your money's gone. Like, that's not how it works. Just got to figure out what you're good at and then do that, basically. But yeah, I got derailed from the Bitcoin thing. So yeah, right now we're sitting on top of support. And I think this is quite a significant one just because there's not really anything significant in the way of this candle. Like we had a big candle to the upside. If you retrace too much of it, people start panicking and people start puking their positions, in my opinion. That's kind of where I see this thing going. Now, like we've talked about, the S&P's been having record days. I'm thinking like what happens if this stops? Because at some point you're going to have a week on the S&P that's not going to be so good. And I think that's going to be where Bitcoin needs to be quite a bit away from the support. Otherwise, we're going to break it. So that's a little bit of a timer. As long as the S&P goes parabolic, it's very unlikely that this breaks the support. It's just a question of what does happen if the S&P pulls back. I don't know. I don't want to make any decisions, like I said, in this indecision zone. Gut feeling is bearish, but it's not enough to make me want to short or to short in general. So there's that. And then we go to the daily time frame. And right now, that's in a range. And it's holding support, but just barely. We retested that support. This is the third test, third official. It's actually quite rare that you get these successive candle closes exactly at the range low. But here we go. 3 ranges, like a free tests of the range. I mean, this one, basically this and this one set the range. This is the next one. So this is basically the first confirmed test, but it's already kind of like struggling a little bit. Have a little bit of a wick to the upside that didn't materialize. Usually you don't like to see ranges that get tested at the bottom and then immediately fizzle out. Like if this happens, that's a bad look. It's the same really. Like I don't like when you're using something as support and then just chill on top of it, right? Whether that be the range high or the range low. I much rather have like you go like this and then you consolidate below resistance, or you go to the range high, you consolidate there. The longer you stick around, the more likely you are to break to the upside in these ones. And the longer you stick around at support, the more likely it is you're just going to fall through. And the reason for that is pretty simple. At some point, the people that are willing to buy that level run out of money. And the only reason why you would stick around at a level for so long, like not necessarily the only, but one of the main reasons, is because people are willing to sell there. So I'm not a big fan of that, but it's still support, right? So we had weekly support, we had daily support, so it doesn't really make much sense to be too bearish. But I cannot bring myself, given all the good news and all the interest in crypto right now, I cannot bring myself to buy something that looks so distressed at range low with all these good news. Just it's very, very hard to do. Can you look at the 4 hours and the range reclaim setup? So, like if I had to make a chart for the 4 hour, I'd say it's like roughly like this. I mean, I know this is a big range, but this is basically the area where it's been bought at. We lost it. We actually traded quite a bit below. For me, that's a bearish retest right now. But not a strong view, and I think this is quite choppy. And depending on how you want to draw the line at the support, you could argue like, hey, this was the bottom, and now we reclaimed it. But I'm not a fan. I would say this entire thing basically is where we kept on getting bought up, and you can see that, right? Like kept on dipping in this area, kept on being bought up in the area, and then fell below it and is now back inside of it. So now you have the people basically that bought this thing thinking about if they want to keep their positions or not, because they break even right now if they bought perfectly. But the 4 hour is so choppy right now that I think you can make whatever argument you want to. But for me, this is still resistance. Starts looking better at like 30.4, 30.5. At that point, we can argue about a range reclaim, whatever. Right now, I'm not seeing it too much, but yeah. XRP pumping, yeah. As Cred and I have written in the newsletter, like if you want to long anything right now, we're talking about Solana and XRP. Those are the two ones that just make sense. Now I don't want to buy anything, so I've not been buying this. If anything, I would have bought this during the news candle. I would have probably already sold it. But yeah, XRP is pumping. It's quite funny because it's at like it reached my target exactly. But it is what it is. I don't really mind it too much. You holding anything at the moment besides like traditional market stuff? No, I'm not holding any crypto. And I even sold off my stable coins because I'm right now not interested in having risk. So I have very little money in crypto right now. Would take me quite a while to deploy, which would be annoying if this thing gets going. But yeah, is what it is. What would make you buy XRP? Nothing. Like I'm not gonna buy XRP. Like the trade for XRP was basically buying the win, the lawsuit win, and that made sense to me. But given that the market is not that great right now, like nothing that this does will make me buy it. I'm not interested. Now that doesn't mean this cannot go up. I could see XRP go towards my target basically. My long-term whatever target was $2, so I could still see it go there. I'm just not willing to buy it. I'm just not interested in buying anything right now unless Bitcoin shows that it actually has some fuel. And right now, it's not really doing that. It's still holding support, which is a good thing. But until it actually starts pushing off, you're not going to see me buy anything, no matter what they do. Is that because you're worried about systemic risk in crypto or nah? I don't think like Tether, for example, I don't think would be in trouble. I'm not necessarily too worried. It's just I don't see why I would want to have stable coins where I make a 1 to 3% in a year, and then I can go to TradFi and get the same thing risk free. Get the twice the yield. Just doesn't make sense. And that coupled with the fact that there's more money to be made in the traditional world right now, like in the S&P and in in the stock world over crypto, I mean, makes it even less attractive. And then on top of that, the fact that I think the whole Binance thing is looming above our heads. I'm just right now, I'm more in the chill phase. Could be completely wrong in the sense that this just goes up because, like I said, we are at support. But to me, I'm willing to wait, see this, do this, and then buy the pullback into like whatever, like buy up here or down here, maybe into 35 to 40K. I'd be willing to do that right now. Like I took all of this and then I took most of this and I traded a few altcoins profitably on the way up. That's more than enough for me. And then now the market needs, like this was basically mean reversion, echo bubble of sorts, right? Like GCR said, like just the echo bubble. And then if we come back here towards like 40K, then it's confirmed to me at least, or much more likely that we're actually going to have some good times. And then I'm willing to jump back in, willing to miss that part. And I'm not really interested in trading anything, which makes this a very boring show. But it's just how it is. There's not that much to do. For me, at least. I think market is still interesting to trade. There's a few coins that have promise. Like I said, XRP and Solana. It's just I'm not willing to do anything. Why do you not have money in crypto anymore? Can you explain for us, please? Because there's better yields. There's more money to be made in the traditional world over crypto. It's all there is to it. So I've been pulling out, and I've been pulling out more and more because it just makes sense to me. And I'm willing to deploy more. Like if Bitcoin goes to 20K, for example, I'd be willing to take a plunge again. If Bitcoin goes up to 40K, I'd be willing to take a plunge again. Because, like I said, this, I think 20K, you get a discount. That's good enough, right? Like, I think I could see fair value with everything that's going on be 30K. If I get a discount, like it goes all the way to 20, that like I'm gonna outperform TradFi quite a bit, right? This is a 50% pump from 20K back to 30K. I don't think that's something that I'm gonna get it in traditional world, not as quickly as I would get it in crypto. If this goes to 40K, I think this pump towards 60K is not something I would get in the TradFi world, right? But if this goes, and this is, in my opinion, quite likely, if this does something like this, and then, like, do I want to be in this part when it goes like sideways for half a year or bleeds out for half a year? The answer is no. I'd rather not. I think I can use my money in better ways. And I'm a little bit nervous about Binance, and I'm a little bit nervous about other market participants. And I think there's a chance that ETF gets delayed, right? So those are two negative things that could impact price. And I think both of those things are holding us back right now. The reason why we're having shit price action is because people are spooked about Binance or know something about Binance, or people are spooked about the ETF knowing that there's a chance that it's going to get delayed. And if the ETF gets delayed, I think we could easily spike low. And if Binance has troubles, I think we could go quite a bit lower. So with both of those things being possible, in the near future, I'm not betting on the support. I'm gonna bet on higher or lower. What exchange do you use for spot Bitcoin? I use Kraken. I use a bunch, but I like Kraken. I even use Coinbase from time to time, even though the fees are just garbage, but is what it is. And I use other exchanges, smaller ones, but mostly Kraken right now. And Alice says he uses WooX, I think. No. WooX, if there's one thing that they don't do well, is on and off ramping. Like your dollar, like if you want to buy with cash, I don't think it's a good place to do so. There's better places. Now, if you want to exchange your crypto to other crypto or trade crypto there, I think it's an excellent place to do so. For the on and off ramping, not for me. Not yet, anyway. They're working on it. Kraken on-ramp is great. Yeah, I cannot hate on Kraken too much. If I did that, I feel like I wouldn't even make anything because the fees depositing into TradFi and back into crypto. I mean, the thing is, I'm not going to, most of the stuff, I'm not going to deposit back into crypto. Like what I do with crypto, right? And this is something that I think a lot of people kind of misunderstand. And I mean, people have heard this before, but basically, which exchange? We can do Coinbase. So, I never updated that. I remember this. Good trade. This was where I was like, you belong now, and you target new highs. Anyway, I bought 2,000 something worth of crypto, like around below 1K. I think it was around 500 or so, like on this upswing here, basically. Bought Dogecoin, whatever, blah blah blah. Did like that whole thing, and ever since then, I've only ever pulled out, right? Like I don't make any money, like besides like a little bit from like this sponsorship, for example, which I haven't done. Like I started with that, I think somewhere at the top, like making money on the side. I didn't make any money on the side. I was just making, like I basically had to pay myself living costs, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's been the habit for me. Like I put 2,000 in, I ran it up, traded altcoins, did all that kind of stuff. And ever since then, I've just been pulling money out of the market. And then I multiply back up what I have. I pull back more money out. I multiply. And then I'm at a point where I don't actually want to, like, I'm more than happy with the exposure that I have. So I'm happy to pull back more, like pull out more. So a lot of the money that I'm pulling out is never going to go back in. It's just going to be, I don't know, like maybe 30 or 40% of the stuff that I pulled out might go back in if I see a discount. And then I'm going to run that back up. And then I'm going to pull back like I usually do. So that's not necessarily like I'm not going to close my positions in TradFi world to get back into crypto. I have some money on the side that I'm willing to put back in, but the longer this goes, basically, and this is something that I think is generally true for the market. And let me actually get Bitstamp or something up with a little bit of more for history. Now we can also just do this one. So what I generally think what's going to happen is this is basically going to become more and more boring. Might not like get boring at 60K, but I think like if we go to 100, we're going to stay there for 5 years or whatever. So I'm not expecting like crazy multipliers anymore. So like there's other markets where you can get big multipliers. Doesn't have to be crypto. So when I trade this around, like I'm back in the day, back when we were trading at below 1K, I was like, this could easily go to 100K. That seemed like the upper limit back then. Now that like we almost went to 100K, I think that's still like near the upper limit, like 100, 150K. And then I think that's basically as much as you can expect in the next 10 years. So like 5 to 10 years, I'd be shocked if it was more. So I don't really mind just trading stuff around. But yeah. Do you use Rollbit? No. But yeah, there you go. Obviously, if you're a doomer, what you would be doing is... But that's not where I'm at. That's not where I'm at. But yeah, that's Bitcoin. I think there's a higher chance of it going down than going up, but I'm ready to wait and see, basically. Where did you get the Rollbit and Binance stats you posted on Twitter? I didn't post any stats. Not that I remember, anyway. May I ask your opinion about Bybit? Do you think Kraken is safer to save assets there? I think Kraken would be the one that would shock me the most if something went wrong, like exchange-wise. So I think that's the safest bet. But I mean, Bybit survived for a while. Probably okay, but I mean, all of these exchanges, like you don't want to trust any of the exchanges, like none. For like having money at extended periods of time. But right now I do have a bunch of money on Kraken, for example. So no super cycle? I mean, for me, no, but I was never a believer. I always found that bullshit. I think it's basically gonna go like you get less and less of a gain every single cycle. We've had massive gains back in the day. I think if we double the all-time high of the previous cycle, that's high. As in, like, if we double 67, whatever, let's say 140K, that seems crazy high. And I think if we go to 140 and then pull back, the next one isn't going to be 280K. The next one is going to be 160 or 170, if at all. So that's Bitcoin. ETH, trading like a piece of shit, not gonna lie. It's quite funny though, like this support resistance zone that Cred and I have been talking about for weeks on end has been the absolute best, but also the absolute worst, because I just want to see this actually either reject or just break out over here, because I mean, this is a bit frustrating. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tests. 7th test, best tester. But no, this is quite garbage. At this point, I wouldn't want to short this level. But also, like, I mean, you still have this kind of like like false breakout kind of thing. So to me, it makes sense to at least, like, if you want to be bullish, you want to be bullish above this level. It's as simple as it gets. Because if you've been bullish in this thing and you've just been holding for the last 4 weeks and you've been paying funding and you've been like getting wrecked, I don't think that's necessarily a nice use of your time. Might as well just get a like worse entry, but at least with a little bit of certainty. So if this goes a little bit higher, closes above like 2K, like close above 2K would look quite nice. Until then, I don't know. Doesn't look that good. Doesn't look bad. Doesn't look like anything really. Yeah, a bunch of people like saying like money in the stock market dwarfs Bitcoin and ETH and everything. Yeah, but I mean, Bitcoin and ETH aren't really doing anything. It's all our little bubble. And until that changes, like if that changes, right, if it gets mainstream adoption and it actually does something for once, I mean, I'm down. I'm down for stupid high targets, right? But I just don't see any of that yet. The only thing that we're doing in this space is chilling like casinos and extracting value with like shitty NFT drops or whatever. Like that seems to be what the industry is focused on, more so than anything else. And if that, like, you have a bunch of people that do these kind of like, yeah, that run these NFTs, casinos, whatever, and they're making money and they're selling, like they're making crypto by getting paid in fees, and then they're selling it and buying Lambos, right? So it's a depressing sight. It's very, 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 very depressing nowadays. But like everyone's willing to bend over backwards for a paycheck, apparently. And that's with prices at 30K, which is actually quite wild, right? Like that's only half. Like, I mean, Bitcoin traded at 70,000. Like we almost went to 35. That's half. Like people shouldn't be down this bad, but apparently they are. Don, what are your thoughts on Hisaka now? I like the guy. I hate the decision to kind of partner with Rollbit, but I like Hisaka. Only had good interactions with him. We used to hang out in a chat group together. Only ever been respectful. I like him. I mean, I like Gainsey too. I very much disagree with his decision with Rollbit. So, just how it goes. Sometimes good people do stuff that you don't agree with, and that's okay. What equities are you looking at buying? I'm not buying any stocks. I'm just buying bonds, basically. I'm not gonna buy the S&P into this resistance, for example. I just don't see it. I'm happy to take my whatever 5-6% a year and enjoy it. It seems quite a nice deal, actually. Nobody dares criticize Hisaka. I mean, I'm criticizing him for his Robit deal, but I like the guy as a whole. Nobody, like, I mean, in general, like, CL, I think, like, very vocally criticized Hisaka. But, yeah. Hi Dawn, do you think a break of indecision zone or retest of 22 to 20s support will come before halving? I have no idea about timing. I mean, I think it's going to come in the next week or two. I don't think this is going to last much longer, but it could, right? Right now, it's just kind of been going sideways. And the interesting part, like if you just ignore this chart and you go, and I showed this chart earlier, like 2 weeks ago or something, the Bitcoin Euro chart, like a lot of the kind of staying power right now, like the reason why we're holding USD support is because the dollar has lost value, right, in comparison to almost everything else. So that is gonna change most likely. I mean, even if this dumps a little bit more, this is gonna bounce back. I think this is the dollar index. Still roughly in the area of support. I mean, the monthly is not that good, but the quarterly is quite good. It's in an area of support. Still has 2 months to close above it. So I could see that bounce. And then people do more risk off stuff usually when the dollar goes up. Volume on Bitcoin Euro is irrelevant though. I mean, I'm not saying you should be drawing your lines on this or you should be trading Bitcoin Euro. I'm saying, look at this. This is showing the weakness in crypto right now because basically the dollar's been dog shit and Bitcoin hasn't been able to go up. I'm not saying this is like a valid chart or whatever. It's basically just bleeding out against the euro. And that is not necessarily something that you should be doing. Because usually when the dollar does well, risk stuff doesn't do as well. and the opposite, right? And the dollar has been doing dog shit, and it has not been translating into prices up for Bitcoin. It has been translating into prices up for traditional markets. So there you go. That's that. Any other altcoins, like I said, the more interesting ones, I think, like if you want to buy something, I think you want to be buying Solana and XRP. XRP is starting to get a little bit in the area where I think you probably shouldn't anymore. Like we talked about it on Tuesday. That was down here somewhere at 0.7374 on the newsletter, if I remember correctly. At this point, it seems a little bit more risky, but still, like if I had to choose an altcoin to buy, it'd be either Solana or XRP. Everything else just kind of looks garbage to me anyway. There's not that much interesting stuff going on. Like even against Bitcoin, there's Atom. Like what am I going to do there? If anything, at range lows again. Then you have ETH BTC. Like what is this? This is a clear downtrend. And as long as ETH BTC doesn't do anything, most of the other altcoins aren't going to do anything either. Why Solana? What's the narrative? It's the same narrative as XRP, right? Solana nuked because security. And on top of that, you have the whole, like people are calling Solana dead kind of thing. Like a bunch of believers sold Solana because of the FTX thing. Like FTX nuked. People are like, oh, FTX is involved in Solana. So they oversold this thing. So you have a bunch less sell pressure, because usually what happens when the coin goes up, you have backholders selling, right? The backholders sold so deep that you didn't have to have or use too much money down at like 7 to 14 to buy them up, right? Like it's much more expensive to buy out backholders at 35 than buying out backholders at 8 or 9. So basically you have a bunch of the selling that would come with prices going up. You have that gone during news events like this, which is the one positive, obviously, in a bunch of negative. So you have a little bit less sell pressure as on everything else. And you have the whole narrative. And you have a not too bad looking chart, to be honest. Like this is the range low. Lost it, retested it, bearish retest, came back into it. Like this is actually like one of the few bullish looking charts in crypto, because basically we've been testing this resistance a million times. It's same, like I talked about this before. Basically you're doing this. Bitcoin is doing the same thing, just above support, and Solana is doing something below resistance. And I'd much rather have this than what we have on Bitcoin. So if you're bullish Bitcoin, I mean, Solana and XRP seem like good bets in general. Everything else, whatever. Could you explain which bonds are you buying? Just government bonds, basically. And the rest you can figure out yourself. I don't know why people are asking me about TradFi advice, because I'm an idiot in that world. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. So I just yeeted a bunch of money into stuff that made sense to me. But you could do like a bunch of research. You research stuff for like 3, 4, 5 days, you're probably going to have more of a clue than I do. So asking me for advice on that stuff, probably not the best idea. So yeah, that's that. Quick TLDR before I end it. And I mean, like I would run this longer, but that's really not that much to talk about. The market is going to turn interesting pretty soon, I promise. I mean, I said that last week, and we got quite the big news event, and that got immediately faded. But I'm saying it again this week. The market is going to turn more interesting, whether that be to the upside or downside, relatively soon. For me, it makes sense. Like this range is toxic. I would not want to get involved. Like even if I was more bullish on everything, right? Because right now I'm just kind of like a little bit of in a pessimistic mood about the space, but that can go really fast. But even if I was like not in that headspace, I think above 30.7, that's the low time frame trigger / like momentum indication that something is changing. Below there, it's just garbage and makes sense to look for lower, in my opinion. Just because we should have gone up, we didn't go up. Whenever that happens, I look for lower. It's the same it's the same reasoning that I had down here, right? I was like, this should have gone lower. It didn't. That's bullish. And now I'm saying the same thing here. It should have gone up. It's not going up. That's bearish. And until that changes, right? Because if we kind of lost the lows here, I would have had to flip back bearish again as well. I'm going to do the same thing here. Like if this goes and shows me that I'm wrong, I'm going to be more than happy to jump in, especially given I'm not short, right? So I'm not going to lose anything if this goes up. I denominate my portfolio in USD / Euro actually, not in Bitcoin. So if the opposite is true, obviously you have to, like for you, like if you're denominating in Bitcoin, you have to be a little bit more active. For me, it's about making more fiat rather than making more Bitcoin. So that makes it pretty easy. Like if this goes up, I still have the same amount of euro / US dollars. And then I buy less Bitcoin, but at the end of the day, like if it goes up 10% from there, I'm going to make 10% either way. Don't really care. So yeah, that's that. Hey Doug, how's your angel doing? Great. She's doing great. I'm confused by MSTR and coin looking better than Bitcoin since 25k retest. Yeah, me too. I cannot give you good reason why that is, other than people taking more risk. Basically, people understand. I think like that's the reason that I come up with anyway. People understand that this is a Bitcoin narrative more so than anything, the whole ETF thing. So they're looking for a more risky bet. Right? Like it's basically like trading altcoins, because you're like, oh, altcoins can go up more than Bitcoin, but it's just basically the same for Bitcoin. As in you still stay in the Bitcoin ecosystem, you just go up further out the risk curve. Usually when people go out further on the risk curve without the underlying pumping, that's usually a bad thing, right? Like whenever I see altcoins go up and Bitcoin cannot go up, that's not necessarily something nice. In this case, who knows, TradFi people, they might operate differently, but we'll see. What are your most important things to be a good trader? I mean, good question. I mean, you have to be a little bit patient. Like whenever I get impatient and I take a trade before I wanted to take it, right? Like if I'm in this range and I want to take this range and I'm like, I'm gonna buy like 29.8k because it's range low, and then it wicks, it front runs me, and then it goes up. Like whenever I do a dump trade, like for example, getting in there because I'm like, I should have gotten filled. I didn't, like now, like I'm just gonna chase it. Like that's usually where you start losing a bunch of money, and then it goes back to your level and you like, fuck, do I rebuy, do I add, do I close, do I whatever, like puts you in a shitty situation. So you have to be patient. Sometimes the trade just runs away from you and that's okay. Like it's just how it goes. Then you have to be able to kind of take sizing. Like I think the most important bit is being able to know when you have to go hard and when not to. And that's very hard to teach. But sometimes you just, like, it's just very obvious. And I mean, that, like, for example, was for me at 15, 16K. Like, the market really, really should have gone down. It didn't. It was starting to put in, like, a bullish kind of bottoming structure. I was like, okay, it makes sense to go hard here. I cannot really explain you why that is. It's just how the market was trading, everything, like how it felt. And then you go hard and then you risk more. And then being able to also tell when it makes sense to risk less. And for me, that was 30K, right? We hit 30K and I was like, I want to risk less. Even if I was still bullish, I would risk less. And then if we go to 40, 50K, I would be able to risk on more. So it depends. But I think that's the most important one. You kind of have to have like you obviously have to have risk management, but you also have to have the possibility to just kind of go hard. Like if you risk 1% of your portfolio every time, that's cool and good. And I mean, sounds like good advice. But if you're missing out, like sometimes there's just very obvious opportunities and you just have to take them and you have to risk more. Because otherwise what happens is basically your portfolio just goes like this. And if you trade and you kind of know when to take more risk, how it usually goes is like this. Know what I mean? Like you have some good days, and if you always risk the same, like these good days, they're just the same as like everything else, and then the fees eat you up. You have to nail the good days, basically. And that just means sometimes taking a little bit more risk. But obviously, and this is something that came up in a discussion today about like the whole gambling thing. I think most people shouldn't be trading. Like straight up, I think most people shouldn't be trading. They should be investing / like just working and then putting their paycheck into whatever they believe in. Because for most people, the portfolio will look like this. That's just how it goes. Like I'd say like 80-90% of people will lose, like the people that trade will lose everything. And then there's a few people that kind of have a knack for it and they have a knack for it, right? So generally speaking, when you ask me for like, oh, what do I need? What blah, blah, blah. I think in general, most people shouldn't be trading. If you are like unwilling to accept that fact, which I mean, for me, for example, I was unwilling to accept that it's just not necessarily a good thing for most people. And you put in the effort. I mean, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But it is good to know that like most people fail. So when I risk more, I lose. When I risk less, I win. Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of a tough one, but like that's the most important thing to nail, right? Like sometimes you can just tell. Like, for example, with the XRP thing, right? Like you get like if your portfolio is like 99% down and you get the XRP news and you see it first, like that's a free trade, right? Whoever saw this, like you should have made, like if you saw this in the first 5 or 10 minutes of it being announced, you just had free money in front of you. And then you have to, like, this is the moments where you have to risk stuff. Like, oh, well, like if this goes down, like it fades the good news, whatever. Oh shit, you lost 5%. What if it does the good thing? Then you made it double, right? Like this is just such an outsized bet that will like almost always make you money. Like this is where you have to risk a lot. Like why would you risk 1% of your portfolio if you see this early, right? You wouldn't. And then it's the same with like Bitcoin, in my opinion anyway. This dumps and you're like, it's at 15K, it dumped from 70K down to 15K. People are super fucking bearish. And the whole structure shaping up. Then you're like, okay, well, like maybe I'll risk 10% of my portfolio. Taking this thing and expecting like and betting on 30K, for example, like that's a 2x. It's not out, like it's not crazy. I mean, people did call me crazy for calling that 30K would be quite easy to hit. But technically that's only bearish retest, right? So what I usually do with my targets when shit has dumped a lot, I just look for the bearish retest and I'm willing to take it that far, right? So you have a dump. We were trading down here, and I was like, I'm willing to like. I think even if this like is bearish, whatever, there's a good chance, like especially while it was walking up like this, that it's gonna bearish retest before going down. So you still have, like, even if you're bearish, you have like a 40-50% move up to take. And it's the same here, right? Even if this is bearish, there was almost double / there was a double in here to the bearish retest. And that just seemed like a relatively solid bet. But the cool thing in crypto, and this is something that I think people just underestimate, is that news come in and then they take like 5 to 10 minutes to play out. Especially now that FTX is gone, I've noticed like there's quite a bit of edge just looking like just being active. And then you can just trade these news events like XRP, for example, before anyone else can. And then you just pick up free money, basically. And I think if you just didn't trade at all, unless you had these kind of events coming, you'd make more money than most people trading. So I still can't believe FTX rocked. Me neither, man. It's fucking morons. Absolutely insane. Like, it's just still the dumbest shit that's happened. Like, imagine having like a donkey that shits gold, right? There's this fable, a donkey that shits gold, and you kill it to eat the meat. Like, it's so fucking stupid. Like, that's what they did essentially. Like, they had free gold, and they killed the donkey to eat its meat. It's so fucking stupid. So, I mean, I was just like, whatever. But it boggles my mind. And like, you have a bunch of people like, oh, you should have seen it coming, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't think so. Like, they did some dumb shit, right? But you would have never expected for them to do this kind of amount of dumb shit. Because, I mean, there was almost no way that FTX was going to get wrecked. They were in the perfect position for everything. And then they just kind of fucked it up. Like, the amount of stupid is so high that I think, like, anyone that predicted it, before, like if you predicted it while the FTX price was tanking and they were like, oh yeah, the FTT price was tanking and they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna buy everything at this and this price level, and the price level broke. Like, at that point, okay. But anything before that, I think it's just highly unlikely. But yeah. It turns out they were the real donkeys. Yeah, absolutely insane. You can't eat the gold, man. I mean, they could have sold the gold and made off like bandits, but fair enough. I remember the night I saw the tweet from Caroline and Insta pulled out everything that I had on FTX. Yeah. I mean, basically, that was like, you see that tweet and the price. Like, if CZ, right, and he will never do this, but if CZ tweets basically, and I mean, this is not going to happen, but if CZ tweets, like, sell me all the BNB you want and then fuck off at 200 or whatever. If 200 breaks at that point, you just get the fuck out. I mean, like, those kind of, like, those events, like when someone high profile that owns like a company or like whatever, an exchange, does something like this, if the bet doesn't work out, I mean, it's just fucked. Did you file your claim with FTX yet? No. Probably not. Will not. I mean, the thing is, like, they owe me money, but I don't know. I feel so dirty with the whole thing, and that I got like kind of bamboozled with it. Like, other people can have it. It's gonna get split up anyway. I will not file, and I will not ask for my money back. Like, it's just how it is. I didn't lose significant amounts. I just lost a little bit. I think I even show up in some of the documents. But yeah, I'm just going to stay away. I'm just going to take it as a loss. I mean, I feel, like I said, I feel dirty. It's like I think it is the biggest mistake in my career. Not in the sense that I lost like a significant portion, but just because, I mean, I just completely fell for it. So that's just gonna be it. I'll take that in grace, and yeah. very, very fucked up situation is what it is. But yeah. Will you ever be 100% out of crypto or always keep small amounts in cold? I mean, right now I'm 100% out of crypto. I don't have anything. I have a few coins, but nothing significant. So might as well be 100% out of crypto right now. So like, I'm not an investor anymore. I used to be an investor. I was like at 1 or 2K. I was like, this is just so fucking obvious. It's internet money. It just makes sense. Like, especially below 1K. Now it's 30 times that price. And I'm like, I mean, even if it is internet money, it's 10 years later now almost. Hasn't really achieved much in my opinion. And this is completely my opinion. But like, I'm much more bearish now than I was back then. Just based on the fact that it took us 10 years and we didn't achieve anything. In my opinion anyway. Like the biggest thing that crypto has done is just make scams more proficient and like more like came up with the best scams basically. And I know that's a little bit cynical, but that's kind of my opinion. So it's kind of hard for me to be like super excited. I could see this go to 100K, to 150K, but I like lost the drive of like, okay, this is gonna change the world, blah blah blah. Just I don't see it. It probably will at some point. Maybe not Bitcoin, maybe not ETH, maybe not any of the coins that are right now. Like crypto as a whole is quite cool, but I'm very disillusioned. Let's say it that way. So I'm not investing. I'm just trading. I'm pretty good at the trading part. I think if I had like investment parts, I would fuck that up at this point because, yeah, for investments you have to have faith, and right now I have none. Do you think there will be new markets like crypto in the future? I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. Like crypto is so unique. Like everything's a market in crypto. What made you become disillusioned? I mean, the whole, like everyone's scamming each other and we haven't really gone anywhere. Like to me, this is the same thing that it was 10 years ago. And I know it's improved left, right, and center, but nothing meaningful. So, I mean, back in the day, it was an excellent way to buy drugs. And now it's not even that anymore. So, I don't know. It's a tough one. Obviously, much better in other regards and all that kind of stuff. It's just, for me personally, like, the whole crypto thing, like it's not like I use this in real life, and I've been in this for 10 years and I don't use it in real life, and I don't really see a reason why I would be using it in real life. And if that's for me, like I don't really know like why the normal person would use it. Not even nation state adoption is El Salvador and such. I mean, people don't want to use it there. They're just kind of, I mean, some people do, some people don't. But in general, like it's been not making life too much easier. And if traditional banks moved in, they would have significantly easier lives than that. But that's like coming from like I'm not the person to listen to that kind of stuff too, because I'm not an investor. I'm a trader, right? So like whenever people ask me about this kind of stuff, I tend to gloss over it because my opinion is quite jaded and I don't want to ruin it for anyone else, right? If you need to believe in this thing and there's good reason to, right? Like cryptocurrency with AI, blah, 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 the whole spiel, right? Like I think cool. Could be something, and if that's something that you believe in, I don't want to ruin it for you. It's just not for me, right? So there you go. Crypto has led to scams developing to new levels. I mean, yeah, it has. So yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. But then again, crypto turns back into the future. If Bitcoin breaks 35K, then we're all gonna make it again, and it's the best market on the planet, and it's gonna change everything. So be ready for that. It's gonna be quite the shift in attitude, and that's just how it goes. That's kind of how you have to trade this market, in my opinion. Anyway, like that's one of my edges. I get bipolar about the market. The market moves, like, does something that I like. I'm like, fuck yeah, it's the greatest thing on planet Earth. And then the market does something I don't like. I'm like, well, this shit is going to zero. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. Make up your own mind. I'm just a duck on the internet. And I've had some good years, but that doesn't have to last, right? So don't get too hung up on what I think. Think yourself. So yeah, that's that. I think that's a good note to end on. Appreciate you guys hanging out, even in like a doomer / whatever stream. It actually turned out to be 1 hour, 10 minutes ish. So that's quite long. No idea how I did that in this kind of boring market, but here we go. Appreciate you guys coming by. Big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. Appreciate their support. Go check them out. Links is in the description. And yeah, we'll see how this goes, right? 35K breaks, fucking moon it. 30K breaks on a weekly, fucking take it to 20K so we can buy again and be bullish again. I would like both of those things. I don't like where this is now, so move it. So yeah, see you guys soon. Bye bye.